Oh, okay. Now we have sound coming straight off of my computer. Let's see. Well, hello, if there's anyone still with us. Let's see. There you go. Are we back? We're back on here. Let's see. Okay, now we have sound coming straight off of my computer.
How do you make sure you're discerning that subtlety? Because that is
Speaking to the microphone, gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right. So
We're doing it live. Red, thank you for pointing us out.
all right. So
Having a
how
jury
we going?
rig.
Are we good?
Wow, that's a shame. Okay.
Well, Red,
Thank
Bill
you.
had the most incredible insight I've ever heard from him, and it's now lost for all eternity.
It's lost forever.
He read almost the entirety of James. Like, that was awesome.
So it's James chapter 3, so we can get back to it. 13. All right. So Mike was going to say something.
No, I was just gonna say, do we want to read it again so that
Sure, why not?
benefit of everybody?
Well, I was thinking I want to go a whole nother direction, and I want to go James 3:1, taming the tongue, because
You can't do that.
I
You can't switch. No, you can't switch, man. You just got us all excited about one verse. Now you're messing with our mind. But go ahead with the taming of the tongue. Which I didn't tame it very well right now.
All right, James.
because in my older age, I've slipped into my tongue has not been very tame as I've gotten older, and as I was younger, it was always very tame, and I've had kind of a problem lately, and I passed that over, and I need to maybe go into that. So I'll read that for us.
All right, go for it.
Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness, for we stumble in many ways. And if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle his whole body. If we put bits into the mouth of horses so they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. Look at ships also. Though they are large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptiles and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we can curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessings and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh water and salt water? Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives? our grapevine produce figs, neither can salt pond yield fresh water.
All right, that's a mouthful.
That was.
That's a 2-hour conversation.
There's so much
We got 10
there.
minutes.
Yeah.
So let me spring this on us. Would taming the tongue include cussing?
Yes, potentially.
Absolutely. I
Or coarse jesting?
I mean, I say shit every now and then.
Sure.
I mean, is that, should I? And why do I? I guess that's the question. Why do I?
Well, and in what context do you
If
say it?
it's out of control,
When,
then it's not tamed. If you can't help yourself,
That's a good point.
if you're losing control in it,
That's a good
if
point.
you can't express yourself without being able to be vulgar, and we're talking about taming. We're not talking about,
So you could or you couldn't.
pure, elimination. And I think it's important to know that any word can be used in an evil way and with malice, and it's about intent.
no.
so is it a cultural thing?
Probably.
Or is it in God's word? I mean, most of the time when we're talking God's word, cursing is putting a curse on somebody.
Right.
It's not using foul language. So where,
I think there let no coarse word come from your mouth. I mean, I think you shouldn't say a bad word. I think I have fallen into a bad state. I say bad words, especially since the head injury. It comes up on me quite often.
Well, the way I look at it is how you use it is important. That may be more important than the actual word itself. The other thought I have is it's considered offensive language for a reason. I think that's cultural. I mean, TV, regular broadcast TV, you can't say certain words.
yeah.
Why is that? Well, because for some people it's considered to be offensive. So then I kind of go back to, well, if I say something and it offends somebody else, not passively, but intentionally, because if I'm at,
Well, coarse words and offensive words, we kind of just substituted it for
curse word,
a different thing. So saying offensive,
right?
I mean, the Bible is offensive.
All right, so that you can't.
But there's a difference. In my mind, when I'm thinking of offensive, it's like a different conversation.
Well,
There's a 3-pronged test applied to it.
oh,
Not that you're going to apply it as you're slamming on the brakes to the absolute jackass in front of you who decides to brake check you on the freeway.
has that ever happened to you?
Loves the true, the good, and the beautiful. If it's not true, there's no reason to be saying something, especially if we're following Christian name. If it's good, if it's generally good, not meant, to harm. And then if it's beautiful, if it's uplifting, or if it's just kind of slimy, kind of close. The true, the good, and the beautiful.
We were actually talking about this before this HolySmoke last Thursday. We were talking about words, and I remember saying lots of words when I was growing up. We just said them as just funny words. That now, if you say those words, that's offensive to somebody. You're offending somebody by saying that word. So I would say I probably wouldn't use that word out of respect for other people, and I don't want to harm my ability to share the gospel, right?
So if I say this is a damn good cigar,
I don't know that that's a problem.
It is a good word. It is.
I do have a problem with it. As long as you don't put the Lord's name in front of it. For two
Yeah.
reasons. for two
Yes.
reasons.
Yeah.
First, to not use it on its own, using the Lord's name improperly. But I see so many people, when something is either good or bad, and they start GBing everything. They say, do you really think if you're asking God, the creator of all, to damn something, it will start working? We have a guy we work with, and he says, this G-bang, printer. I say, okay, you want the printer to be fixed, and you just commanded Yahweh to damn the printer. That
But
printer's gonna fall apart.
he doesn't live in that context.
I know.
So to him, it doesn't mean anything. It's offensive to us. Whereas
How you're offended versus what it's saying about using coarse words and
Right,
telling
right.
coarse jokes that's not an uplifting thing. That's not. I guess I'm trying to pull it back to what the Bible's talking about, being coarse versus offensive. Because
Well, what is coarse?
everybody's gonna have their own version of what's offensive.
Well, what makes something coarse?
Well,
Is it
I
the,
think when you intentionally try to make, it's almost like the shock jocks from the old radios, you're trying to, you're trying to almost incite and shock and exaggerate. I think that the three-pronged approach or whatever is, or the rule is nice because really at the end of the day, do we want to do stuff that's negative towards God or doesn't show it in the right light? Or, I mean, why are you doing it? If it's not good, that means it's bad, right? It's not, I think evil gets a hold on that, in that area.
it's an interesting subject.
It is, I mean, and it's a big subject, but I think that you can.
I just always go back to how would Jesus have taught.
Right.
And think,
Well, and he wasn't, he called the Pharisees a brood of vipers. That wasn't really,
Offensive.
it was offensive to them. They certainly didn't take that kindly. And we know Jesus didn't sin, so in that context, that apparently was okay.
But I like Devin's three-pronged approach. It was true.
yeah. And I think that
It might not have,
Does it have to be all three?
it might not have been beautiful, or what was the other prong?
True, good, and beautiful.
It wasn't good and beautiful, but it was probably true.
And I think it applies to this particular section, because I don't know that it's specific here about a specific word. Correct. It's really about the context
Of the tongue.
context or the content of your speech. You can start a small spark and start a fire.
It can control your whole life, like a rudder of a ship can control and move the entire
So,
ship.
like a small spark can start a fire. A rumor can destroy somebody's life.
Yeah.
here.
Those kinds of things. It's what you're saying about people. Whether you're being encouraging to each other or you're not being encouraging, is your speech uplifting? Now, the type of speech you use, whether you're using words that are a little bit coarse or not, I think that has to come into the context of who you're with. Because, I mean, I'm not advocating cussing and stuff. I'm just saying that, when you're with a group of guys that you know really well, you can say, damn, this is a good spot. But, you have to be careful not to cause your brother to stumble. And if that is not appropriate language for when you're with a different group, you don't use it.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think, it's so much easier just to say, don't cuss and you're obeying the scripture.
Yeah.
It's much harder to say, no, I have to look at my intent. I have to look at what the words I say, even though they may not be curse words or even bad words in and of themselves, what they're doing to the person that I'm saying them towards. But that could actually go in favor of trying to be encouraging, but you're encouraging somebody encouragement towards something that's not good for them, in that sense, those words are harmful and wicked. Does that make sense? So in other words, if I'm trying to be affirming to Frank, let's say Frank comes and he says, yeah, my wife's a jerk. I think I just want, she doesn't want to sleep with me. She doesn't sleep with me anymore. I'm going to go and sleep with somebody else. And I encourage him. I said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You deserve to have sex. So you should go and have sex with somebody else. Those words, if I say that, those don't sound like harmful words. They're not bad words. None of them. But the encouragement towards what is not good actually makes it bad.
Really bad.
And unfortunately, it can be taken out of context, just like we stopped recording halfway in the middle of that. We have now left people with some really, I wouldn't call it
Interesting
sage
stuff.
advice. It's tough. I mean, I think that the crux of it was what Mike's saying, the smallest little part on your body controls everything. It can hurt people. It could be affirming, or it can destroy. And I think the more we exercise that in the wrong way, the stronger foothold.
Does it quit recording it?
No, I was kidding.
He was just joking.
And Bill's like so worried. We left that hanging out there.
How many of us have had something said to us that is burned into our brains?
For sure.
Right.
Words can be debilitating. They can be, they can destroy you.
In 7th grade, I was in a class, and we just moved from Colorado to California, and California changed since then. The California school that I went to felt like they were so far ahead of Colorado schools that they just automatically, without testing me or anything, put me in a remedial class. I was getting nothing out of it. My parents finally said, how come you don't have any homework? I said, because I'm not learning anything. It's just easy. I do it all in about 5 minutes in class. I'm done. So they went to the teacher. Well, say all that to say that particular group of kids didn't like me. Maybe because I was outperforming. I'm not sure. Or maybe they just knew I didn't belong. So if you haven't noticed, I got these little points on my ears. And they called me Martian ears. Repeatedly. They didn't call me by my name. I didn't have a name. It was Martian ears. That stuck with me. And I remember asking my parents, I want to grow my hair longer. But, my parents were conservative. They had my hair high and tight. And I wanted to cover my ears. Well, that stuck with me for a long time.
You have that pretty long hair to cover this.
All right, so that's another thing that I saw. Now my ears are big and pointy. Anyhow, so yes, I think that wasn't a curse word. And I don't know that they were trying to be mean. They thought it was funny. But that stuck with me, right? So
I think it's funny when you talk.
That's why I know
I
I
just-
always have long hair.
Yeah, I always just focus on your mouth so I don't look at it.
his eyes start darting.
I don't want you to see me going.
Okay.
All right.
Are we done?
Put that into a cluster of a show. We'll see y'all next week.
Well, thank you.
Maybe they can hear us next week.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to hear us. This was probably our best week so far.
Our pointed ears will probably be there next week.
Next week we'll touch Scott's nose.
Oh,
Yeah.
noses are important, by the way. That's like the biggest focal point in your whole body.
There's a scriptural element.